Joust is fun for maybe the first 2 or 3 levels, but the difficulty ramps up so fast and becomes so hard that I just really can't keep playing the game anymore. This was probably one of my biggest regrets as an Xbox Live Arcade purchase. What I got was a really mediocre shooter that you can go online with, but the controls and the camera were so terrible that I couldn't play it longer than a day. I got Undertow for free, and while the concept was really cool in terms of being an underwater online shooter, it just couldn't hold my attention, and I gave up on it shortly afterwards. I never did play the original Bionic Commando on the NES, but I did appreciate the style that they gave the remake here. It had a classic feel, but an updated touch. It's hard to explain, but it has a really nice balance. I bought this right before the launch of Street Fighter 4, and I admit it was totally all based on hype. I only played it for a couple of hours on the night that I bought it, and I kinda regret it now. I'm not a huge Street Fighter fan. This is the first time I played a consoleized version of Alien Hominid, and I really like the presentation with its flash graphics in HD. Be warned though, Alien Hominid is extremely hard. I admit it, I bought Gyros based solely upon the awesome remix music that was in the game when I tried out the demo, but I actually turned out to really like it. It plays similar to Tempest, and I had a lot of fun with it. I hadn't played Galaga in a really long time, so when it showed up on the Xbox Live Arcade, I decided to pick it up. I had fun with it for a night or two, and that to me made the purchase well worthwhile. Triggerheart Exelica is one of those Xbox Live Arcade games that probably went totally unnoticed. If you're a fan of shoot-'em-ups though, and you like bullet hell games where there's tons of bullets on the screen, I would say give this one a try. I had some fun with it. 2-player online co-op in Double Dragon to me was well worth the purchase of 400 points that I paid for this one. Even though you can finish it really quickly, it's still a blast to play online. This is ranked higher than HD Remix on the list based purely upon the fact that this was one of the most hyped Xbox Live Arcade games out there. I picked it up, I played it online for a little bit, and to me it was worth the purchase. This is actually a port of the consoleized versions of the remake of Outrun, and I had never played those before, and this plays a lot like Ridge Racer 6, which isn't a bad thing, but it's a fun online arcade racer. I became quite addicted to Frogger. It was just one of those games where I kept saying, alright, just one more try, one more time. And it was a shame that the online co-op versus mode lagged, because it actually had a lot of promise. Even though I'm still anxiously awaiting a port of Golden Axe 2 on the Live Arcade, having Golden Axe 1 with 2-player online co-op is enough to hold me over. Even though I would have loved to have seen 3-player online co-op, it's still a blast to play this classic. Anybody that's played Pixel Junk Eden on the PlayStation 3 and enjoyed it really needs to give Wick a try. It's a unique platformer that's been out for a really long time on the Live Arcade now, but it still holds up really well. For those of you out there that just love topping high scores, give Crystal Quest a try. It's a pretty old Xbox Live Arcade game, but for those of you that love dodging little things on screen, this is the one for you. This is a sequel to one of my all-time favorite PSP games. It's unique in that it plays out sort of like a puzzler and a shooter at the same time, but this version is just way too easy. Games can go on for hours, and I found myself ending them on my own. In Feeding Frenzy, you start off as just a little fish in the ocean, and the more that you eat, the bigger you get, and the bigger you get, the bigger fish you can eat. The idea is simple, but really fun and addictive. Despite having so many new different gameplay options and modes, Geometry Wars 2 just never fully caught on for me. Maybe it came out at the wrong time, but the short time that I did spend with it was a really fun experience. It had been years since I had played this game, so being able to pick it up on the Live Arcade with co-op and deathmatch online, I couldn't pass it up. It's a classic shooter that I think everybody should give a try. Marathon is the first and only game to ever give me motion sickness. However, it had a really awesome online mode allowing up to 8 players to go through co-op online through the main campaign. I did buy Miss Pac-Man just for the fun of going for the achievements, but this is a game that I had played a lot of in my childhood, and being able to play it in HD was well worth the price of admission. Smash TV is an excellent co-op game that's aided by the fact that it's extremely hard. And that's usually bad for some games, but for Smash TV, somehow it just makes it that much more addictive. Wave after wave of enemies, it just never gets old. The rare times when I can actually get a couple of friends on to play Warlords with me, it's well worth the wait though, because online mode in Warlords is just so much fun, despite how hard it might be to get people to play with me. Despite already owning the original Sonic the Hedgehog on so many other platforms already, this was the first chance I was given to play it in HD, and it looked really, really nice. It's one of my favorite games out there, so this was a welcome addition. Robotron is one of the hardest games I've ever played, and just that fact alone is what kept me playing this one. Just trying to get to that next level was a huge accomplishment. They just don't make games like this one anymore. Even though there's plenty of them to choose from now, this is one of the original dual joystick shooters available for the Xbox Live Arcade. It still holds up really well to this day, and I have a lot of memories of playing this one. Being able to play Contra online with a friend was a lot of fun, and having to memorize all the enemy patterns and when to duck and when to shoot, and just trying to make it to the end of the game all over again, that's just an experience that I'll never forget. Even though at its core Boom Boom Rocket is a simple music rhythm game that just uses the 4 directional buttons for the inputs, it's aided by an excellent soundtrack and graphical style that everybody should try out once. Gauntlet is just the perfect match when it comes to mixing a classic game with online gameplay. Playing with 4 people online and yelling and screaming at one another for shooting the food or doing this and that, it just never got old. Those people out there that took the time to get past the tough learning curve of Hexic found it to be extremely addictive, and I was one of them. I could play this game for hours at a time, just zoning out and playing it. Best of all, it was free. The Maw is a really fun action platformer that has a cool premise of dragging along your alien friend and devouring everything in sight. It could almost pass as a retail game based upon its really polished and stylized visuals. Jetpack Refueled really took me by surprise of just how addictive it was. The premise is simple, you're just flying around collecting parts for your ship to move on to the next level, but it gets really hectic and a lot of fun. Space Giraffe is probably the most love-or-hate game on the Xbox Live Arcade, but for me, with its crazy psychedelic visuals, techno soundtrack, and random goat noises, pair that with an awesome combo system, it's a great game. Chances are if you're watching this video, you already own this one, but if you don't, for 400 points you're really missing out on one of the best games on the Live Arcade. Even though its sequel might make it inferior, some still prefer the original. Parade is a refreshing platformer on the arcade that uses a beautiful hand-drawn art style, a relaxing soundtrack, and mind-bending puzzles where you can stop, rewind, and fast-forward time. It's a great experience. Having the chance to play Symphony of the Night in HD is just something I could not pass up. There's a reason why some people call this the best game of all time. It's simply an adventure that everybody needs to try at least once. This was a really fun one to go through online with 4 players. Going from beginning to end is still a challenge, and it's a lot of fun, especially if you're playing with some people that you know. Shred Nebula is a shooter that's really gone unnoticed on the arcade, which is a shame because its 8-player deathmatch mode is some of the most fun I've had on the arcade in a very long time. The first couple of weeks this game was out, the only people online were the developers and myself. I'm sure the camera support in Uno just made it that much more fun to play. But when you play a game for what seems like a half an hour, but it actually ends up that you've played it for 2 hours, I think that deserves the top spot on the list. Doom simply had me addicted to its online deathmatch mode. I would play it for hours and hours and hours. Pair that with that you can go through the whole game in co-op mode, this is one of the best arcade games out there. Peggle is a game that just seems to capture everybody that plays it in its simple fun mechanics of just shooting a ball and clearing pegs from the level. It just never seemed to get old, and I really enjoyed this one. Age of Swing is a 4-player online co-op shooter that just begs to be downloaded because it's 100% free to download. This is one of the best cooperative games on the arcade, guys, and you must download it. We don't really see that many new classic side-scrolling beat-em-up games anymore, but Castle Crashers really delivers. With a great sense of humor and an awesome style, it warrants many playthroughs with online co-op mode with 4 players. Surprised to see this one so high up on the list? Well, you'll be just as surprised when you try it out yourself and see how much fun it is. I have so many memories of playing the online multiplayer mode of this, and I'll just never forget them. This game is excellent. If you don't own a PSP or you've never played a Luminous game before, you must go and download this game right now to see what all the fuss is about. It has an excellent soundtrack and a simplistic but highly addictive gameplay style that'll have you playing for hours on end. No game has made me want to beat my high score more than Pac-Man Championship Edition. I was playing this game for hours on end just trying to beat my high score, and it brings a great new twist to the classic Pac-Man formula. Having one of my favorite games of all time ported onto the Live Arcade with HD graphics truly warrants the number 3 spot on my list. Rez is a game that has to be experienced firsthand to see how much of a masterpiece this game truly is. All you do in Marble Blast Ultra is guide your marble from point A to point B on obstacle courses with different power-ups, but oh my god is this game fun. Not only that, but it has an excellent online mode. Everybody must play this game. And my number one pick is Bomberman Live. This is a game that I had hoped would come to the live arcade for so long, and I got truly addicted to this game. I put hundreds of hours into the online multiplayer. I mean, come on, 8-player online Bomberman? How could you ask for more? Go buy this game.